Welcome to CAM Matters, Condos, Co-ops, HOAs, and beyond. Betsy Barbieux is an informational leader in Florida on community association living, rights, and obligations. She is an expert on the rights and obligations of owners as well as the association. If you live or are planning to live in the state of Florida, there's a good chance you'll be part of a community association. And by the end of this show, you'll know a little bit more about community associations and why they matter.
Hi, and welcome to CAM Matters. I'm your host, Suzanne Cheeseman, and I've got Betsy Barbieux here, who spends a lot of time and effort in educating about different community living matters. Well, Betsy, welcome. You made it through the annual yearly education summit.
I did. Can't you tell?
I heard it was absolutely.
I did.
Before we jump into laws and things that are happening, let's talk about how Yes went. Do a quick recap.
It was fabulous. We had the most attendees ever. We had 84 attendees. We had 5 fabulous facilitators. Jane Boland did our legal update that pretty much mortified all of us.
Why is that?
The new laws have just gone overboard and are micromanaging every little thing that managers do and boards do. And I don't see how on earth we can comply. I honestly don't see how we can comply. And I'm trying to rewrite my board certification books that I don't know if I'm still permitted to teach or not because there's no communication from the division. And I'm trying to rewrite the pre-licensing manual, which is now probably going to be another 50 pages long because I don't know what to put in it because they're not specific as to the topics for the test. They're just very general with the topics.
Okay, we're going to spend most of our time today talking about that. Let's talk about the great stuff from Yes. Tell me more amazing.
But Jane Boland was our attorney from Broward County who did our legal update.
Okay.
Mitch Drimmer came from Miami from Axela Technologies to talk about accounts receivable and collections. The next facilitator that we had was Phil Massey from Assured Partners. And I swear, I think when he finished his presentation, not one person had breathed or moved.
Wow.
I remember going, wow.
Wow.
Insurance update was intense.
Wow.
And thankfully, we broke for lunch and decompressed. But his presentation was outstanding. He also made available a budget insurance review email that he sends out to his clients that I will make available for those who are in attendance, that he gives boards an update each year on what he anticipates and projects the insurance rates to be and all the carriers that are coming in, going out, the increases seem to be mostly this coming year for general liability.
Okay.
And he had a lot of technical information about why that's so. And then in the afternoon, we had Charles Goodwin from IGC Insurance General Contractors. He spoke to us about roofing and contracts and making sure that you have an expert help you with the specs and the RFPs to help review those, also to make sure that your attorney is involved in writing and reviewing those contracts. Both Charles and Phil emphasized intensely the importance of hiring community association attorneys.
Okay.
Your local houseboat
that specialize in that, yeah.
Yeah, your local houseboat and car insurance agents are great for houseboat and car, but do not ever hire one of them for reviewing insurance or insurance claims or any kind of contracts for condominium or HOAs or co-op. You need someone who specializes in those. The last presenter for the day was Matt Queasley, who is one of the most popular, I think, reserve study advisors in the state of Florida. I've known him for years, and he did a great job on a very when you're talking about financial things, I might should have thought about not having him at 3:00 on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
But he did a wonderful job of keeping us all awake and interested and involved. And then I think the thing that everybody has commented the most on is Miss Debbie, the caterer, and her food. We had delicious hot breakfasts both days and hot lunches. And of course, not only did we have chocolate chip cookies, but she also made peach cobbler and some other kind of chocolate cake with, I don't know what it was, cream cheese icing or
She's
something.
amazing.
No.
Just amazing. Betsy, that's a lot of people to attend. I mean, that's a lot of networking. That's a lot of new family coming together. Mm-hmm.
It was. We also had Connie Lorenz from Asphalt Restoration Technologies as our sponsor for our social hour. So we walked across to our beautiful Ski Beach restaurant on beautiful Lake Harris and had another 2.5 hours of social networking time with appetizers. And I left before everybody else left. There were still people there networking. So that just blesses my heart in a good way.
Oh, yeah, right. That's amazing. Well, I'm glad that it was a great success.
It was really good. The other sponsors that we had Vice Painting that basically pays for the conference room. So we thank Gene Ponder and Matt Vice for the sponsorship of the room. We had Valley Bank. We had Juniper Landscaping. We had Stone Building Solutions. I keep wanting to call them Stone Claims Group. We had Unlimited Restoration Technologies. We had IGC as our breakfast and lunch sponsors. We had the Florida Community Journal as our media sponsor. And then Connie was our social sponsor. So we had great sponsors. Matt, Vice, Gene Ponder have already signed up as our Platinum event sponsor for next year. So for those who are listening, if you want to get involved and be a sponsor, I can go and sell sponsorships now.
That's awesome. Betsy, I don't know of another conference like this. I mean, this is so unique and meaty in the information that you're giving.
The networking was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The breaks are longer than they are when I do a pre-licensing class. And I just like to sit back and just watch everybody talk to each other and network, and they do a lot of their own problem solving. I think even one newer manager has probably gotten a job offer already from another management company that was there. So making those connections, getting jobs, finding solutions for your problems, there is just nothing better than face-to-face. And I really feel sorry for those who take all their classes online. I really do, because they don't know what they're missing. This is worth the time to come.
If you had to say, Betsy, what was the overarching theme of the attendees? Did they have a general problem that needed to be solved? Did they have a feel?
Most everybody was concerned about the new laws. So the legal update, I let Jane go first on day one and gave her the time that she needed. But unfortunately, she needed to get back to Broward County for a board meeting that night, an emergency board meeting. She could have talked all day, and we would have listened to the legal update all day if she had been able to stay.
Yeah.
The changes are complicated. The changes in the law are all different for condo, co-op, and HOA. And having a board certification class, which I've had for the past 10 years, mine has always been a 4-hour class. I have always taught all of the topics that they want you to teach, not just the 3 or 4 that you get to choose. But now having all of those board members in one class is going to be even more of a challenge.
Betsy, this is a good time to take a break because we have got a huge chunk. Let's take a quick break, take a breath, maybe have a shot, because we're going to get deep and heavy in this next half. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Are you ready for a new career? Do you have skills or interest in management, real estate, construction, maintenance, accounting, strategic planning, project management, budgets, human resource management, lawn and landscaping, pool services, or any other expertise needed to operate a community association? If you do, community association management could be for you. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Florida Community Association Management continues to grow. Career opportunities abound.
Welcome back to CAM Matters. I'm Suzanne with Betsy Barbieux. We are ready to take the deep dive into new laws that are potentially coming into an effect and who's exempt, who should be exempt. Betsy, I'm going to let you have the floor here because this is a big, hairy, more than deal. This is a big, hairy mess.
One of the law changes had to do with managers. Well, several of them had to do with managers. First, they've increased our fiduciary responsibility and given us not only civil but criminal penalties for failure to do many things.
So now you're personally responsible.
Yes. And the question I asked of Phil, the insurance agent, was, do managers now need some sort of E&O, errors and omissions insurance? And he didn't think so. But what he and I both explored is that with this new requirement that says that managers who've been licensed more than 10 years and don't have any violations on their record are exempt from taking any more continuing ed. Pause. I understand from the Regulatory Council meeting that they're trying to exempt CAMs from the exemption so that we will have to have continuing ed. But he seemed to think, and I would agree, that in the interim, that associations that hire CAM employees and management companies that hire CAM employees should make sure that you have a contractual provision in either your employment agreement or your management contract that the CAMs you hire must have their continuing education credits even if they're exempt, that they are still required to take the classes.
Okay.
And that seems a little bit self-serving on my part since I teach the continuing ed classes. But just for instance, all the law changes this year, you can't possibly not take your legal update, at least take the legal update.
Especially now that they could be personally held responsible.
Yeah,
you want to do that.
More, and there's a lot of law that's been added for managers and management companies who also are financially related to the lawn company or the pool service company.
Right.
And I think we see some big management companies that also own these other companies, and then they dub them as preferred vendors and won't let associations use anybody else. Now that's wrong, and I think that the legislators have fixed that, but it also includes a good bit of disclosure for the CAM or the management company before they enter into those contracts where an owner of a management company or a board member has a financial interest in one of their service providers. And this new law also allows or requires community associations to let owners who are doing repairs on their own units to use any vendor they wish, instead of just an approved vendor from an approved list that might just happen to be financially tied in.
Sure. Betsy, let me just take the other side, just to play devil's advocate. What was the thinking? Because nobody wants to set rules and laws in place that are going to be a mess on purpose. What was their thinking in trying to, because it's not just CAMs. I mean, it's doctors to some extent with state laws. It's barbers. What is the thinking that was in place with it?
When I went to the Regulatory Council meeting several weeks ago, almost a month ago, and I was disappointed to find there were only 8 of us there, and 3 of us were me and Jim and Denise. So I thought the room would be full of hundreds of people clamoring and complaining and concern and everything, but there weren't. Someone there did explain how CAMs got exempted from continuing ed. It's because of another decision that a different division made. We have a division of professions and division of regulation.
Right.
Division of profession oversees us. Division of regulation oversees other professionals like doctors.
Okay.
The thinking was in the division of regulation was that since doctors and some others like attorneys are held to a national standard, a national credentialing, a national level of continuing ed, there wasn't any reason to add Florida continuing ed to doctors and lawyers. So that they exempted a group then in the division of regulation. They exempted a group of professionals that have national licenses or national credentialing. And then somebody got the bright idea, oh, if it's good for the goose, then it's good for the gander. So why don't we do that for the professions under the division of professions? But the ones that are under the division of professions, we don't have any licensing authority above the state. We have no national licensing authority or licensing continuing ed.
So it's not the same thing.
No, it's not at all. So the division of regulation, that's fine. If they want to exempt doctors and I don't know who else, let's say lawyers, from Florida continuing ed because they have national licensing and standards that they have to adhere to. If they want to exempt them, that's fine. But under the division of professions, don't you think you want your barber or your massage therapist or your CAM? Don't you think that you want them to take continuing ed to keep up with the Florida laws? We don't have anybody above us.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It makes perfect.
Yes, we have CAI, Community Associations Institute. That's a professional organization that will bestow credentials if you study hard,
right.
But that has nothing to do with licensing. It has zero to do with Florida law.
Right.
CAI course materials have no Florida law in them whatsoever. So,
Betsy, what's a risk here? What's a risk by not having continuing ed for managers?
Not knowing the laws.
Yeah.
And then but then on the other hand, they've increased our fiduciary responsibilities and civil and criminal penalties. So what I see the risk is that there are owners who know more than CAMs do. And if they know that we're supposed to have dotted this I, crossed that T, dotted this I, crossed that T, and they start requesting records from us and verification of all of those, and we can't produce them, then it's going to be a violation on our license.
Right.
We don't want to deal with an investigation on our license.
Yeah. What is the next step? What can you do as a leader in this area? What are you doing?
The only thing, I don't have any legislative lobbying power. That's not something I've tried to ever get involved in. I would say that board members and managers should be contacting their state representatives and senators to say, do something about this law. And I would also say that for associations that hire their own employees, you need an employment agreement with them, which I'm sure you already have, but it also needs to have a requirement in them that they maintain their continuing ed even if they're exempt. And I think the same would be true then of a management company hiring CAMs. You need to have in your agreement with your CAM that the CAMs will maintain their continuing ed even if they are otherwise exempt. It did sound like there was going to be some sort of glitch bill on the division of, or the profession, I'll get it in a minute, the division of professions side as far as our licenses go, and that they were trying to exempt CFCAMs from the exemption,
Okay.
which would then go back to the way it is. Because in the meantime, they've also added a requirement under the homeowner association laws that managers have to take 5 extra hours of continuing ed specific to homeowner associations.
Now, tell me how you feel about that.
I don't know how I'm going to teach that because that takes about 5 minutes. The requirements for managing a homeowner association are exactly the same as condos. So I don't know what other extra 5 hours. 3 of those hours have to be on record keeping. Well, record keeping is the same no matter what kind of community you manage. So it's like, okay, well, here are the records you're supposed to keep. Here are the ones you can't show people. We're done. I don't know.
Wow. But they're not asking you. They're not asking the leaders in that.
I know a lot of people would think that they should, but really and truly, in the bigger scheme of things, I'm nobody. Well,
but you know what works?
They're making these laws
but they're making these laws from above, not boots on the ground, understanding.
Yeah,
and why.
Lobbyists also are myopic. They're hired to change condo law, and then there are other ones hired to change HOA law, and then there are others, we don't have any, that are hired to change co-op law, and they're not looking at all 3 laws at the same time like I do.
Right.
I have to know all 3 at the same time and teach all 3 at the same time. They don't. So they don't see the inconsistencies of what they've done.
Right.
And I'm trying to update my manuals, and I'm going to send the manual to the Division of Professions and say, I know you can't do anything about what the legislators have done, but I want you to see what this has done to my pre-licensing book.
Right.
It is
so good.
Full of pages of edits. And I know Krista can't do anything about it, but maybe she can show somebody how much more we as pre-licensing providers need more specific outlines for what we're to teach. Right now, the outlines are so general. They've been the same outlines for 25 years. We just need more specific outlines, or they need to create a standardized manual for all of us to teach from. Because right now, all continuing ed providers, pre-licensing providers, we all create our own manual. There's no standardized manual.
Wow. Betsy, what are some final thoughts as we start to bring this down for the show?
Well, you have 1 more month. If you haven't gotten your continuing ed credits, if you missed the summit, you have a month left, 6 weeks left to get your continuing ed credits. I have a few that will be online for self-study. Otherwise, you will have to see where else you can find your credits. Also, I will announce that my website is changing. The first part of September, I will have a new website.
That's exciting.
It'll be nice and fresh and new. The articles section that all of you use so often will be being rebuilt, but it won't be readily accessible. But if you have read an article or there's a topic that you're looking for, email me and I'll find one for you and send it to you. But we will be getting that up and running, but it won't be. It's going to take a while. I have 20 years of monthly articles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take a while to
a lot of wonderful information
linked up. Yeah.
So my final question is, you just wrapped up the yearly educational summit. Mm-hmm. How do you relax? How do you rejuvenate yourself after all that?
Well, not much.
No, just keep going.
I am scheduled to take a vacation starting tomorrow for a week to Wyoming to a dude ranch, and I like riding horses. The only downside of that is there is an appointed time for breakfast. So
that's it. You
miss the meal times, you can't sleep in.
Wow, Betsy, thank you for everything that you do. That annual summit is, I was thinking maybe laying by a pool or something, but you're going to be at a dude ranch doing some work and on a schedule. That's just so you. Very regulated, very, very disciplined.
Well, And the scenery is beautiful. But we're going to Eaton's Ranch. It's a working cattle ranch at the foot of the Little Bighorns in Wolf, Wyoming.
Beautiful. Well, well earned, well deserved. I hope that you
no cell phone service, so
okay.
I'm going.
Hey, you know what? You had me at no cell phone service. I'm on my way. Come pick me up on the way.
Really?
Betsy, it's always a joy doing these shows with you. And if you are consuming, if you're watching these, please feel free to share them. Let people know about the specific topics that Betsy spends a lot of time on. You are very appreciated, Betsy, and we will catch you in the September CAM Matters episode coming up.
Yes.
Yeah. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to CAM Matters. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Information provided on this show is general in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact a licensed attorney for your specific situation.